Hi, welcome back to another episode of Tape Time with Tom. My name is Chris. This is going to be a fast video because we got a quick turnaround. Last week we saw Napoleon in 70mm. I already threw a video up online for that. This week we saw Tenet in 70mm, and this is what this video is going to be about. And next week we're going to be talking about Dune Part 2, which I'm very excited about. So, for all intents and purposes, we're talking about Tenet tonight. I actually got to see Tenet during its first initial theatrical run. I went up to an Alamo Draft House. I was maybe one of 3 people all masked up in a giant IMAX auditorium. I had a great time watching the movie. It was a little bittersweet, a little scary at times, just because we didn't know how everything was going, basically coronavirus-wise. But now everything seems to be more or less okay. All this is to say is this is the first time that many people are seeing Tenet on the big screen, and this is my second time seeing it, but this is my first time watching it on 70mm, and you know what I'm going to say. It's worth it. It's an outstanding print. It looks great. I had a fantastic time. I've seen the movie like 3 other times besides my first initial theatrical screening. It's just a fun movie. Like, it's not Christopher Nolan's best movie, but I'm predicting this is the movie that's going to be remembered for like repertoire theaters 20 years from now, playing like a really beat up old 35 or 70mm print. This is the movie that's going to be like IndieWire's After Dark in maybe 2 years or something. Like, it's a cult classic in the making. Like, it's not a, if you really think about like the physics, it doesn't make like a whole lot of sense. And I could give you a couple examples. Like, one of them is like in the very beginning during the Opera House sequence, the other guy gets shot with a reverse time bullet. Was the Opera House built with this defect already in there, and then after the fact it's better, you know, something like that? Or like with the car, with the whole jumping around and flipping and everything, did the car come off the assembly line with a cracked mirror, and then when it was in that chase scene, it's fine? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. However, I understand why a lot of people have issues with the movie, especially if you kind of think about it too much. Unlike The Abyss, I don't think Tenet is really trying to hammer down any sort of like important thematic themes over the head in the third act. I think Tenet is just supposed to be like a fun movie, and it truly is. I know it's kind of like a catch-all in hindsight for Chris Nolan, especially writing it into the movie. Just don't try to think about it. Just experience it or feel it or whatever it is. But like, it truly is. You know, it's a lot of fun, and you just gotta like kick back and let the movie wash over you. It's so much fun. And well, one of the things I didn't mention earlier is how when we went to see the movie, they handed out a handful of these little kick-ass little Tenet 70mm prints. I don't know if like each, because they only played it for 3 days at my theater. I didn't see it earlier. I saw this at the AFI Silver in Silver Spring, Maryland. That's a great theater. It's one of the only places that actually projects in 70mm nearby, and they're doing a fantastic job since they're having these 3 within the course of a month. Napoleon, Tenet, and then Dune Part 2, and then later on in April they're playing Lawrence of Arabia, which I'm planning on going to see. But it's just so much fun, you know. But they handed out these really cool film strips and stuff, and I want to get a scan of this for folks. But I just wanted to show you how kick-ass this looks and stuff. So I don't want to kind of dive too into the things. If you don't know the plot, look it up. It's hard to describe anyway, and it's not really kind of movie that necessitates, I don't know, spoiler-free dialogue. It's just an interesting kind of movie where, like, even if you kind of talk about it, it's going to be hard to explain. But that doesn't mean it's like it's a difficult to watch movie. At least I don't think so. Like, I think I like this more than Inception. I don't know if that's controversial to say or anything. I just find like Inception is easy, and I know it's a meme that like, oh, I don't understand Inception. It's color theory for all the dream sequences. If you don't understand color theory, I can't do anything for you. But with Tenet, it's a little more interesting because you can actually kind of like track everything. But I think they play it really well. And I've said this previously in other videos, is that I think an issue that people have with the movie is that the magic trick is one of the oldest magic tricks in film history, but it plays out so seamlessly in the movie, and it makes it look like it's easy. And I highly recommend, if you get the Blu-ray, there's a making of behind the scenes documentary on there, and I'll throw it up on the screen. I forget what it's exactly called, but I highly recommend people watching that because it is a difficult movie to make. It is extremely thought heavy in the behind the scenes, and like all these fight choreographies, man, it's just freaking impressive to watch. So I highly recommend tracking that down because it's definitely worth it. But also, I don't know what else more this to say is I love Tenet. It's so much fun to watch. If it's the kind of movie that if it ever comes back to a theater in 70mm, I'm going to try to watch it because it's just a lot of fun. I'm just kind of rambling. I didn't jot down any notes. Like, John David Washington is fantastic in this movie, and I just love him, his physicality and his brevity, and I think he really makes this movie breathe. And I think if it was a different actor, it wouldn't be as fun, you know? Like, I love him talking with Michael Caine and just like having these like quick one-liners. It's very much Christopher Nolan's like James Bond movie, and I kind of hope he actually does a James Bond movie, but if he doesn't, this is the best thing we're ever going to get, I think. But I love John David Washington like running around in the opera house, like sliding underneath that turnstile or whatever it's called. That's not the actual turnstile. Like running underneath the table to get the coat check and stuff. And I love him like punching the guy with a cheese grater. It's so much fun. And I've mentioned this previously when I talked about 12 O'Clock High. Yeah, they crashed a plane in a building, and I know it was like on the ground, but man, it's freaking impressive how, like, watching the behind the scenes documentary, how they actually managed to get that working and stuff. But like, man, watching the movie on the big screen is outstanding. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm sure. Another issue that I have heard people have, and I know there's plenty of YouTube videos about it, is the sound. I did not have an issue with any of the sound. I think it sounded even better coming out of in that theater off that 70mm print compared to anything online or streaming wise or on a Blu-ray on your television or something. But man, it sounded great. And I know like a key point of the movie that people have an issue with is like when the guy from Kick-Ass is talking, and it sounds like he's very mumbly. I don't know. I didn't have any problem with that during this screening. Everything sounded great. I don't really have a good like end capper on the movie. Go see it. Go see Tenet in 70mm if it ever comes to your city. That's it for today. That's Tape Time with Tom. My name's Chris. Thank you so much for joining us on this little 70mm journey with me. I will see you guys next time for Dune Part 2, and then we'll be having some VHS hauls and commentaries and potentially more discussions in the future. Please like, comment, subscribe, and always rewind. But more importantly, be kind. See you guys later.